Good day, everybody. Brian here from quantlabs.net. Just wanted to go over with you the current state of Redis. Earlier in the year, in the spring of 2024, Redis, or the company now that behind sponsoring Redis, Redis Labs, has decided to um, change their licensing for Redis, the Community Edition. As a result, two uh, projects were forked, or Redis was forked into two separate projects, one called Valkey and another one called Redict. So let's talk about Redict for a minute. I've run both Redict and this other one called Valkey. So I'll get more into Valkey in a minute. But regarding Redict, from what I'm seeing with Redict, it's still at 7.24. Valkey is 8.01, so they're farther ahead in terms of development. I think Valkey will probably grow a lot quicker, from what I'm read. The big providers, cloud providers of Google, AWS, and Oracle have now supported officially Valkey, and a couple of big corporations as well. There's another article I read that showed that Valkey is now growing faster than Redis itself. So Valkey looks like to be the winner here. But regarding the source code projects for Redict, here they're probably trying to update it as much as possible. But if you go under Redict, this is now hosted on a kind of like a GitHub Codeberg, and you can see here Redict is still in C. Couple things here is that the client support in other languages, programming languages for Redict is only really C. So that's high Redict. Now I got it working, um, and that's all I could say. So that's still back to 7.2, I believe. So along comes Valkey. Now Valkey.io seems bigger, more mature. When you go into their repository, GitHub, Valkey-io, Valkey, you can see here all the instructions to build it. They don't have it. I'm going to show you demos here with Ubuntu 22, but you can't just do an apt get or apt install because they don't have that package yet available of Valkey on um, from Valkey themselves. There's Procona has made one, but eventually I read in the forum that Valkey will have eventually a package available on Ubuntu 24, which is the current version of Ubuntu. The other thing to pay attention to here at Valkey is the other type of client support in other programming languages. So this is where Valkey will basically be more advanced than Redict. So with Redict here, I believe this was current version here last week, which was released 8.0 for Valkey. So again, as I said with Redix, it's still at 7.2 or whatever it was. So they're really developing more advanced with Valkey. The other thing with Valkey is going back is that there is now more support in terms of client programming languages. We see here we have Rust, Python. So I'll show you a demo of Python. It's pretty simple. And then there's Valkey as well. I think this is it right here, lib Valkey. So that's the Valkey client support for C. Now, back with Redis, no different. There was always a high Redis available in C. If you're writing in C++, you can embed the C calls into Redis into your C++ code. It's no different here with Valkey. As I said, I'll show you the support for Python. The maturity of Valkey, the working examples, I couldn't quite get developed as easily. But I no problem with Python, the Python version. So let me just show you the general project here. Okay, so to build it, it's pretty simple. So as I said here, I've got two versions of my Ubuntu 22. This is a server of Valkey. Redis, like no different than a Redis server. It's called Valkey-server. This one is the client, whatever client I'm going to connect into. So let me just break this module right here. And then there's the client there. So um, if you follow the instructions when you do, let's say if you're just brand new to this, do a git clone. This is how I do it anyways, right within my terminal. I like to keep my coding right within the terminal, easier. You can use an IDE for this, no problem. But I like to do it the more difficult way. That's the era I come from the 80s. Anyways, so if you just look for the repository, just copy this repository and git clone. Oops, clear that. So git clone and this one right here. Where was it? This one right here. So that will generally build your download the repository from GitHub. Okay, so I've done that already. Um, so if you go in here, you'll see a general make file. Again, this is all written in C. Again, I'm assuming you know how to use C, you know how to use Python, you're fairly advanced. So in here, just do a make, and the instructions are right here. So it's pretty similar. If you want to do other addition, I'm just using as simple as it gets with make. I mean, all the additional features you can add on later, but the whole idea is just to see it working. And as I said in this demo, so in here, once you get the make, what you want to do is run this after building your make. The Valkey itself is do a Mac test. So what it will do, it will automatically run these unit tests to make sure everything's working within Valkey on the server end. And again, you can also clean up the distribution as well if you have problems on the compilation or the build itself. So that's that. So let's start playing uh, Redkey with Red Valkey. So the first thing I use is go into the source directory here, and what you'll find here is the server. Now again, I'm just doing the Valkey server client and the Python demo. And the only pattern I'm using, which is pretty simple, which I love about former Redis, but now Valkey, is that pub sub works, and you can have multiple clients with a pub sub model or pattern, and then being able to read it in if it's within a C process or a Python script as well. And you have multiple, and you can do sharding. I mean, it's an absolutely amazing tool for leading into high frequency trading, because at the end of the day, you'll need a data store, right? Somewhere. And this is a good one as long as you have the RAM and all that. So, anyways, let's run the Valkey server here. Make myself disappear. And there it is. So we're now running the standard old Redis server, but now Valkey server, standalone version, port 6379, default, right? So now we go into our next process or open um, Linux process here on the client side, is we're going to run the, let me just see here. Okay. My, my structure here might be a little different from you. Anyway, so go back into the client. So what I'm going to do here is keeping it all basic. We're going to run this little guy here. This is the client of the CLI of Valkey, just to make sure the connectivity is there on this machine and working between the two WSLs, because both of these are WSLs, Windows Subsystem Linux 2 on Windows 11. So that's how I'm built it. Again, don't come to me to show you how to build this out. I'm assuming how to use it already. Someone will use Docker, someone will use other. I'm primitive uh, and raw. I don't use Docker a whole lot until I'm ready to go into production and ready to deploy something or whatever tool I use for that. Anyways, so I'll do the um, Valkey client here. Okay, CLI. Ah, okay, Valkey CLI. Disappear in there. Okay, so there's our client right there. So now the standard ping, we're getting a pong. How do I know that's working? Well, if I kill that um, and do the same thing, you see server not connecting. So just relaunch this, boom, we're in business again. It's for the basic connectivity right there. Okay, so now we know that the client and the server are talking to each other. Let's now do a basic demo in Python. All right. So in here we have now, if you go back to the main repository under Valkey, what you're going to look for is the Python client, which is this one right here, Valkey Python. So I got this here. Yeah. Okay. So there's our Valkey Python repository. Let's go down to the instructions. Anybody building any project, make sure that your documentation, how to build stuff, how to run stuff is clear because there's so many projects, say like 75% of the projects that I see are just so either abandoned or not updated or just don't have any documentation. If you're trying to build a project um in and post on GitHub for as an open source, or trying to do that for a career, and you don't have the how-to stuff and the documentation, I'm gonna be pretty pretty down on you, unfortunately, that if you can't do the documentation, I mean, that's a big part of the job as a coder, being able to document and make things easy for people to pick up really quickly. Here, this project, as you can see, is pretty simple. So coming back to it, what we do here, as I said, we can run the Python sorry, the Valkey Server Edition using Docker. Fine. I don't use it a whole lot. I do the old school way, I guess. So in here, to install Valkey on your Python, just do this pip install. It exists on the Python projects in their repository. Well, that's a good thing. Um, and then here we have our basic code. So I'm going to load up a Python interpreter here. Now remember, we got our server running. Valkey server is running right now. So it should go in and start working, no problem. So I'm using Python 3, 3.1, doesn't really matter as long as it's like a more recent version of Python and it works with the Valkey. Anyways, so first thing we do, and I'm gonna do, you can put this in your own script, but I'm gonna do it within the Python interpreter. So let's just get to that here. So first thing is import the package or module of Valkey. Boom, that works. So here we're going to connect into the Valkey server. No different when we use the CLI. Just now we're using Python. So boom, no errors. Now, again, if I decided to fill that and relaunch, there's going to be a problem because Valkey connection pool looks like, okay, let me just do the next line to show you. It should fail. See, now it says error connecting into the local host server on the connection. So we got to relaunch that. There we go. Go back into the Python. So now we're able to establish our little data object set and bar. It's kind of like a memory key, uh, value and key. I mean, that's where value key comes from. So we have foo, and that's a source associated with bar. So what can we do? So we set foo with bar. Now we're going to get foo the object and see what the value is. Boom. So there you go. So that's kind of working. I'm sure you could do other examples here as well, whatever you want with Valkey. Now, that's all fine and good with Python. Now, here's a trick. Um, libvalkey is a C client for Valkey. Now, so Valkey works, and this is where you, the viewer, can help out here. So if I go into the appropriate directory here, so uh, okay, there we go. So there's everything we need here. This has been built out. Let me just walk you through the instructions here. So this again, libvalkey, the C client, and right here is how we build it out. So I've done all those steps already. Uh, so essentially, there's no documentation on usage. I'm not sure if anyone's got any examples out there on the Valkey site. I don't know. I'm gone beyond that. But just to show you, there are some coding examples here. Bin files in Linux or exe. I'm not sure if this is going to actually run on Windows. This should run on Mac as is. But let me just go one level up. So in here, we've got some examples. So let's try running some of these examples, see what happens. Now, again, we know, yeah, so there you go. So we know that um, the C examples are running, example blocking. Let's see if we do this push. Same thing. Okay, so let's just go back. Simple stuff I'm doing, very basic. Let's relaunch one of those client bin files or programs, connection refusing because the server's down. So we know that we've done that multiple times. So again, if you want, you can always look into the source code. So let me just see what we have here as examples. Push. Now again, this is from the repository. Um, Let me just see here what we've got. So in here, somewhere in the make file, it's going to create these programs. So again, you have to go through the make file, see how it's being made. Let's see here. So again, you got to know your make file, all the gobbledygook that creates the make file, does the compile, then does the linking and all that. I'm not getting into that, but point is that we have the capability to reverse engineer both these bin files and then be able to figure out how to get the C component, C coding to work and communicate with the Valkey server. Okay, so I've done enough there. I blabbed for a good 17 minutes. All right, so what does this mean, everything, if you're just watching here? So if you are like me, okay, I'm going to show you here. Now, all of my examples here of all the GitHub, all that will be posted on a blog that you'll be able to find in the description at quantlabsnet.com, the new website that I've got. So if you come under the same domain, you want to learn more what I'm going to do with this, just go over to quantlabsnet.com. Now, this is the important thing. I have gone on in the past, most recent videos since let's say last 3 months. C++, C, HFT is what people want to see. That's what's driving my viewership now on YouTube. So as a result, you want to know more about what I'm doing behind the scenes because I only post so much on YouTube to make sure my channel performs optimally. So I have to put other content behind the scene. The only way you're going to get notified on it is to be on my email list. So go under learn here, you opt in, you get the HFT ebook, which is already out, and you should be able to get um, that book. Okay, and it's just very basic on all the different components that go into a high frequency trading system. All done in C++, maybe C as well, preferably on Linux and da da da. Okay, so there's that. Now, why am I using something like a Redis fork called Valkey? As I said, I've been in this game for quite a while, and I'm not saying that Redis is the ultimate solution for uh, high frequency trading, but it is looked upon as a way to have a data store for all your market data. Okay, I'm going to be putting up another video talking about a potential simple Qt um, interface that has to get the data from somewhere. So if you store it in something like Redis, or I should say Valkey, sorry, it's easier to maintain that because the original developer that launched Redis, in his genius, made it very simple and had amazing support for multiple languages. But right now, the only language you should be really worried about when it comes to Redis is, or now Valkey, the fork, is really Python and C, really, for now, going down this path for high frequency trading. So a lot of projects out there have looked upon as Redis as pretty well the gold standard when it comes to storing data, specifically for high speed needs. It's not true high frequency trading in terms of institutional and multi-billion dollar trading firms. I mean, they're doing FPGA, they're doing uh, air- antennas across Chicago and New York. Like these are multi-billion dollar infrastructure. But for us simpletons from the retail world, Redis is your next best option. So because of that, it's true open source. It looks like Valkey is trying to keep it true open source, having a very friendly license for it as well. So Valkey looks like to be the new Redis, and the development of it and the maturity is going to get there eventually. But as I said, we're just focusing on both Python and C. So I've shown you both clients working in both languages. So with that in mind, Valkey will be very important for data store in any kind of system. It's Linux friendly. You should be able to run it on Mac, but getting on Windows may be a challenge, just because. And Percona might have solutions for it as well. They're one of the, I guess, sponsors or one of the companies supporting it. So as it stands right now, and I should say Redis was always a problem to run on Windows anyhow. So you probably want to run it in parallel on how I'm doing it with these WSLs on Windows, and you can do this connecting them between VS Code or Visual Studio or whatever IDE is a lot simpler. You can probably also run it in Docker as well, but that's your choice on how you want to build it out. When it comes to infrastructure, you'll definitely want to be on something um, high speed, Linux, your own custom Linux kernel, or a BSD as well, which is Unix like. So there's that. So again, to see me continue this development beyond what I've shown you, moving, it's October 10, 2024, beyond that, using Valkey as my data store. You got it. The only way to keep up is with this or subscribe to my YouTube channel. But I can guarantee you I will not be most likely going beyond what I'm demonstrating today in this video. But at the end of the day, that's what I'm putting out right now to show you Valkey works. It does work for Python. It does work for C, as it did in the early days of Redis while it was still the product to have for database, high speed data store. So we'll leave it at that. Again, the place to go if you want to know more and get that book, the ebook, which is out, you can easily get it at quantlabsnet.com and go into the Learn tab. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Hopefully, we'll see you in one of my newsletters. If you got comments, let me know. If you got a better, improved way for the Python or the C, let me know that too via the comments. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Over and out.